and I love this bigger picture conversation, which I should have expected I would get out of someone like Ash. But the other flip side of it all to me, his genius is the guy's developed artists time and time and time again. And part of what we do here at Outerloop Coaching is develop artists, right? We give them the tools. So he's talking about building a tool that will help all artists, not more so not the top 2, 3, 4%. It's going to help everybody down. I'm curious, in the model that either he's envisioning or in the current state of affairs, what's that nugget of advice to, the artists that has no audience, that was, going through our workbooks that say, hey, if you, grow your social media, we talk about with our band being a brand, right? So what is it that for those bands in their infancy, is it stay the course? Is it do something different? What's getting Ash Avildsen's attention for something that isn't a signed artist?
Okay, so one of the shows we're doing for the relaunch of Hit Parader as the digital media entertainment vortex, kind of similar to what Complex has done for urban and sneaker culture. We hope Hit Parader would do for rock and roll and alternative. We're doing a show called No Cover, which is essentially a competition show for unsigned artists, and the hook is you can't play a cover song, you have to play originals. So it's a panel of celebrity judges and all these prizes and all this stuff, and it's televised. And the way we're letting bands sign up is through 3 ways. And the 3 ways we're doing it, I wanted it to be very authentic and real to how the music business really works, right? So here are the 3 lanes. First lane is online voting. You have so many fans and the IP addresses check out that, wow, look at the demand for this band. And that's going to get you on the powers that be radar. Funny story, this show is also inspired by Jimmy Iovine and Matt Pinfield's Farm Club. That was on the USA Network, 99-2000, where Kitty and Chimera and a number of different bands broke off of. And back then, I remember, because I was in an unsigned band in my first year in college, they didn't have an IP tracker. I think the band was Sev from DC, Maryland, Virginia. Remember them? And they just voted themselves on repeatedly on the site because there's no IP tracker.
Oh, the good old days.
The good old days. But that was a great show, and it was ahead of its time. It was brilliant. So that's one lane. You have so many fans online. You get high level voting. Everyone's like, oh, we got to pay attention to this band. The second lane is you're cool. And the tastemakers are like, hey, we think this band should get on. And that's when agents, managers, labels, publicists, journalists, playlist programmers, local radio stations, any type of gatekeeper or tastemaker says, hey, you should check out this band. That's lane 2. And then lane 3, which is the real harsh reality that is probably the best advice I can give for unsigned bands that are trying to figure out, which is like work multiple jobs. I worked my ass off doing different jobs to get money to invest into my own band until we were on people's radar. The third lane is they have money. And that's the harsh reality. They have money to promote themselves to get onto a platform. I think it's probably the best example recently is I want to say, and I've never worked with the band, but I believe I Prevail used their own money to do Facebook and social media boosted posts to boost up their Taylor Swift cover to then get on everyone's radar. So it's kind of genius. It's like they invested in themselves and they did a cover song, and they didn't turn out to be an Alien Ant Farm scenario. So kudos to them and their team, because they have a great career now, and their original compositions have transcended any of the covers that may have helped launch them. But they took it upon themselves to get their name out there. So to an unsigned band who maybe doesn't have all the online votes going or big numbers, they don't have big streams, and they don't have relationships or momentum with tastemakers, well then work around the clock, man. You deliver Uber Eats. You come up with all the money you can so you can shoot a music video. And then with that music video, you can turn the meter on. When I say turn the meter on, you're investing in getting eyeballs on it, just like if you were on a record label. Because the best way for an artist to find out if their art's working, put money behind it and see if it moves the needle. If you're putting a bunch of money behind something and the needle ain't moving, guess what? It ain't working. Try again. Write a new song. Do a new video.
to go around the world to get back to touring, right? Lane 3, and I don't want to expose, this, what I love. It sounds like a great idea, but can you recall any one band that's bought onto a tour, so they've used their money to put that behind it, that's broken out? As a guy that used to put package tours together.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to reveal anyone's history if that artist isn't or those artists aren't willing to let people. They don't want that to be known. I won't speak for the artist, but Mike and I can both tell you firsthand several artists who had either themselves or their record labels or their investors buy them on to tours, even when they've meant some tickets on their own, but nature of the beast, headliner, their manager's like, we want our bus paid for, or we want, $20,000 to go towards marketing or whatever it is. And I've firsthand done that for multiple different Sumerian acts, and those acts made the investment worth it. And that's a great analogy, because if you get bought onto a tour for $20,000 and you just played 30 sold out shows and nothing has changed, you got to look in the mirror, like figuratively, not literally. You have to look, okay, we just got this big platform. None of our numbers have gone up. Did it mean anything? And yes, it's the reality. It's like money moves the needle if your art's good.
Like, all right, so 2 questions. One, let me start with the one that you're touching on first. Like, one of the things I hear about all the time is like a band saying, okay, we've saved up some money. There's a booking agent who says that they'll put us on a tour if we buy on. How much should we spend? And how do we know whether it's going to be a good opportunity or a bad opportunity? What would you tell an artist who hasn't done that before as to how they decide how much to spend and how to decide what kind of a tour to buy onto?
Well, for the one low price of $499 per hour, I will get out my crystal ball and I will tell the unsigned band, get out your parents' checkbook and let's look into it. No, I'm just kidding. There's no way.
Exclusively brokered by Outerloop Coaching. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah, you have to speak with my agency, please. Look, no one's got a crystal ball, right? Nobody bats 1,000. But people with good batting averages, obviously, they know what they're doing to a certain degree. I like to think Mike and I both have pretty good batting averages. I don't think there's a specific mathematical equation that you can plug and play and say how much money is this tour worth. The biggest thing is how much are you willing to sacrifice to get some answers about your art. So if you think, hey, we sound like band A and band A is going on tour and they'll take a check, go play their shows and see if anything happens, if you can afford what they're asking. The flip side of that, though, is on the artist side, I'm wildly against buy-ons unless the band does mean something. In the cases of that Mike and I have dealt with buy-ons to tours, even when we're helping an artist get this tour with a buy-on, it's usually an artist that actually does mean something, but there's 10 artists that mean something that want that one spot. So, the money can be the differential in who gets chosen. I'm very, very opposed to a band who has zero going on. Who is just painfully aware when you see their logo on the tour poster going, how on earth are they there? And, it's usually because of a buy-on. That, to me, I always think is kind of tragic in the sense that the artist should have put someone who has already built up a base, get the opening spot, instead of having it be what literally we call a throwaway or a toss-away slot. I don't think such thing even exists unless you're a band that draws thousands of people and you're doing an underplay and playing, 400 or 500 cap rooms and everything's going to sell out in a day or two. So it doesn't matter who's opening. But anytime you're actually going into shows that aren't going to sell out in the first 48 hours and it's going to be, weeks and weeks of moving ticket sales, throwing someone on there for some money, I don't know. I don't think it's the best strategy.
A couple things that come up for me. The thing is, Ash and I both know there's no, formula, just as he talks about, the anomaly of Billie Eilish being homeschooled and recording her single in her bedroom with her brother. When we talk about these opportunities, which oftentimes do cost money, each band has to have some sense of, it might not be revealed exactly what came of that opportunity until later down the road, right? Sometimes it isn't exactly what you're expecting. You might meet somebody that it takes 3 or 4 years for that to pay off. Ash and I have both seen countless examples of that. And I think that the most challenging part is only the artists themselves, if they're the ones investing, right? Just as Ash as a label, he's got to know when he is willing to double down on his investment or whether or not he's going to pull back.
Know when to hold him, know when to fold him, baby.
And the challenge is, right, we've both been involved with things that we folded on, that inevitably they, maybe that was the thing that ignited something within the artist, but they found their way through in other places. And there's been things that we've doubled down on that sadly all the indicators were there and something else didn't matter. So I think to, anybody listening that's new, it's really hard to know, and that's where, again, Ash talks about his experience. He's done it enough times. He sat at the poker table enough times. But, one of the real things to me, when you go back to the show that you're developing and, I don't know what the premise is, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, you get in through one of 3 doors or 3 lanes, as you say. And, I'm curious because I've watched Ash take artists who had something. He identified something in them. I don't necessarily know exactly what it was. And then he got in and worked with them in order to make that band into what they, then launched with. And had he, so is it he saw their image? Is it that he heard a song, and then went in and did his tweaking? So I'm curious, Ash, coming out of, that television show, or even just, the show aside. Oh, sorry, guys. Coming out of the show aside, right? Like, what is the thing that ultimately? Sorry, I got a call, which wasn't expecting to come through. What is it that you're trying to find? Right? Are you trying to find a great song? Are you trying to find a great front man? Are you trying to find?
Well, not front man, but the whole band. But that's literally. I've been asked this question enough times that I'm like, can I streamline and just like cut right to the chase? And this is going to sound so just, I'm the record label guy, I'm the star maker. But like the fucking reality is, and I've made decisions to sign bands. Two I'll give examples of. So there's 2 lanes. There's a hit, which is like the songwriting side. And it doesn't mean that they actually have the hit, but you see the potential of the songwriting. And you go, wow, they actually can, that's a great riff, that's a great vocal hook, that's a great lyric, it's a great melody. There's the cold, hard songwriting, which we'll put on the hit side. The second thing, and 1 or 2, they're interchangeable. The second one is the it factor, which is star power, which you can't really, it's hard to talk about what it is because it's literally this thing. And Born of Osiris, when they were called Rosecrans, and granted they were an underground progressive metalcore band in a small Legion Hall, so it's a different kind of environment and sound as the next band I'll reference. But I saw them, and in the first 5 seconds of them playing and seeing the energy and the magic, I looked at my employee that was with me, and I go, this is it. We're going to sign them. Knew it in the first 5 seconds. Pally Real is another one. I drove out and saw them. They were on a tour called High School Nation. They were playing at like lunchtime at a high school out in like Fullerton. And I had already seen their video and heard their songs, which got me to the show. Same thing with Born of Osiris. I heard the music and go, oh, there's a lot of potential. Let me just see that they are live. First 5 seconds of the first Palais song, when they turned it on, they started going. I looked at Nick Walters, who's Sumerian. I go, we got to do it. Just fucking immediately knew it. And then that doesn't mean it's like, again, it's not all or none. There's bands that you see that and they have this incredible star power, but they don't end up having the songs. And then you have bands that are incredible songwriters, but they don't have the it factor live, and you have to develop that. So it's not like you see it or you hear it out of the gates and then it just turns on and the label goes boom and the band's popular. It's still a long process, and it's very rare that you find both of them at first look. You know,
that it factor is only live, or can it be captured at all in video and streaming and all the rest of it?
No, there's definitely music videos. I mean, again, two great examples, two of the most iconic bands of our lifetime, probably of all time, Guns N' Roses and Nirvana. They both broke on music videos and MTV. I remember exactly where I was, both bands. The first time I saw a Welcome to the Jungle video, which is literally how the band broke, label was going to shelf the record. Tom Zutaut talks about the interviews. Geffen, it wasn't selling. They'd only sold a couple 100,000 at the time, which was like, you know, a couple thousand now. And it was dead in the water. And Tom went right to David Geffen and said, you have to get this music video played on MTV. It's going to be the biggest band in the world. And Geffen pulled a favor at MTV. They played it at like 2 or 3 in the morning one time. And Geffen told Tom, that's all you're going to get. You're going to get one spin. Tom's like, no, it's got to be in daily rotation. And He goes, that's it. You're going to get played one time in the middle of the night. And Tom sat with the guys when they were in a small apartment in Hollywood. They played in the middle of the night. Boom, fucking melted to soundboards. Back when like there were like circuit boards for landlines, and if too many calls come in, I guess there's like some electrical response to that. And that's what happened. And it was literally that. And then Nirvana, same thing. Nirvana had put out Bleach. It wasn't, you know, it had some momentum, but it wasn't. They weren't printing, you know, success. And Smells Like Teen Spirit came on MTV. I remember exactly where I was. Turned on. I was on actually a BBS, bulletin board system. It was like kind of the origins of the internet. And I was talking in a chat room, and I was like, dude, turn on MTV. There's this guy, and they're in this gym, and there's these weird cheerleaders, and this janitor is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And boom, that was it. So to answer your question, yes, the star power can absolutely come through a good music video. And it honestly, it doesn't even have to be, you know, the Welcome to the Jungle and the Smells Like Teen Spirit videos are very world building. Like you really feel like in those videos that you're stepping into the world of this band. So I would say that live, you can just kind of see it and feel it. In a music video, my advice to artists would be like, hey, they might not get me and Mike at a show, but maybe they can get in our inbox. Bring us into your world. And that doesn't always require a bunch of money in the music video. Yes, you could just be in a warehouse or in front of a green screen and go, we're rocking out. I've seen it a million times. What is your world, right? Like the music video that you're trying to introduce, that should be your theme park. You know, you go to Disneyland, you go into the Star Wars place, you're in Star Wars, and like you could be a 2-year-old or an 80-year-old. You're like, wow, look at this. So utilize whatever your world is as a band and build that visually, because that can be the difference between someone going, oh my God, I got to keep watching this, and oh yeah, song's okay, they're rocking out in a warehouse. Oh, you know, he twirled his hair. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think I would, you know, I mean, that's fantastic advice. And I would say, you know, it's really challenging, you know, again, going back to a car metaphor, and you're just a band trying to figure out, you know, where you exist in your world, let alone what your world looks like. And, you know, I think that's why people like Ash, because he can sort of see that and has seen what works and can bring that out of bands. So, you know, try to figure out the way to bring that out of yourself. And some of it just takes time. You know, look at Ice Nine Kills. I think they've been trending in the right direction, but when Spencer figured out the way to make it his world, it really popped.
Yep.
You guys are great. Thank you very, very much for all of your time. This is some just idea bombs. I think people are going to be going crazy on this. So this is awesome. So thank you very, very much, Ash. Much appreciated. Thank you for, you know, all the great music over the years. Thank you for bringing it all to us. We really appreciate it. And Mike, same as well. Thank you very, very much.